3, 2, 1. We are live. Over to you, Danya.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dhanya Shekhar. Welcome you to the day 6 and webinar 11 of the Changemakers Winter Camp. In this session, we will learn what it takes to put together to a winning entry. During this session, Ms. Tilotama Srinivasa will be talking to our expert and the ATL regional mentor of Change for Karnataka, Mr. Kiran Kumar. I would like to briefly introduce them both now. Tilotama Srinivasa, who is my co-anchor today, is the CTO and founder director of Peach Engineering Private Limited, established in 2004, and the founder of Egyana Consulting LLP that offers MSMEs quick and easy access to the top engineering expertise. She is also founder of Sustainable Transformation Private Limited, which offers consultancy to the field of biofuels based energy solutions. She also consults for the Hector School of Engineering and Management, Kalsara Institute of Technology, Germany. With the BSc and MSc in Mechanical Engineering from KIT, Germany, she specializes in structure, FEA, and problem design. And now, introduced to our speaker, that is Mr. Kiran Kumar sir. He holds a PGBDA in marketing from Symbiosis and an MS in computer science from Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago, USA. A BA in computer science and engineering from Bangalore University and a diploma in electrical engineering from a board of technology examinations from Karnataka. Additionally, he has completed a certification programming in Leading Beyond Authority from Common Purpose United Kingdom, showcasing his commitment and continuous learning to the leadership and development. Mr. Kiran Kumar, a seasoned changemaker, strategic advisor, and management consultant with over 27 years of experience, excels in advising and calculating for IT startups, particularly in innovation, product strategy, and product management. Having held leadership role in multinational corporations across North America, Europe, Japan, and Australia, he has contributed to the development, architecture, and management of innovative technology-based products, solutions, and services. As a regional mentor of change associated with Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog since 2018, Kiran Kumar plays a vital role in culture of creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship for school children. His Tinker Camp initiative, initiated in 2021, aims to the initial values through student-led initiatives. Recognized multiple times as a top-performing, exemplary, most active, most consistent, most popular mentor by Atal Innovation Mission. He has been instrumental in conceptualizing and driving normal state and school level initiatives. In today's webinar, Mr. Kiran Kumar will talk about the importance of documentation, discuss how to pitch effectively, and give some tips how to submit winning entries in the design competition. In this session, will be fireside chat from both Tilotama ma'am and Kiran sir for about half an hour, and I encourage all of you to use the following time to ask Kiran sir any doubt regarding innovation competition in general and ATL marathon in particular. If you have any questions during the session, please type it in the Zoom or YouTube chat window so that, as I said earlier, we will take up your questions at the end. Before we start the session, I request all the participants to mark their attendance in the Google form, which will be provided in the chat box of Zoom as well as the YouTube channel. If you have marked your attendance, then the participant certificate will be provided at the end of the session. Thank you. Now I'm inviting Tilotama ma'am to start the session.
Thank you, Dhanya, for the introductions. So I will start with the questions to Kiran sir straight away. so that it gives us
Sure.
all a little more time to ask him more questions towards the end of the session. Okay. Before I start, as always, I hope everyone has their books and pens handy so that you can take notes. This is going to be especially interesting for you guys if you're participating in the ATL marathon, and even otherwise if you want to participate in innovation competitions in general. Okay, sir. So I will start. So today's thing is about pitching one's inventions, right? So the very first question is, what is pitching?
Okay. That's a very interesting question. Maybe many students must be hearing this term called pitching for the first time. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this term, or maybe you have heard this term called cricket pitch and things like that, or maybe some sports. But what does pitching really mean in the context of, let's say, innovation or business and things like that? So we will talk about that. So first of all, pitching is nothing but, it's very simple. Pitching is just presenting your idea or your solution or your business, whatever it is, to somebody. Okay. Normally, let's say in your school, all the students are familiar with showcasing their science projects or some innovation projects or tinkering projects in their ATL, right? You don't normally just showcase things, maybe in an exhibition or things like that. But there, the purpose is to just show things and demonstrate what you have done, and maybe that's the end of it. But in pitching, you not only showcase, but you do it with some intention. You want to showcase or present your idea to, let's say, a jury member in an innovation competition, or maybe somebody else. We'll talk about some of the different types of pitches. I'll come to that. But you're doing it with an intention. What is the intention? You want to convince them or persuade them about the value of your idea or your innovation or your solution or your prototype, whatever you have built. So people should get convinced and they should probably give you what you ask them for it. That is what pitching is in simple terms. Okay, so the end result is if you are competing in an innovation competition, maybe getting the prize or the certificate, that may be the objective. Or it could be maybe getting some investment in the case of a business pitch, for example, or getting some buy-in from people. So there are different types of pitches. We call them as competition pitch, sales pitch, investor pitch, crowdsourcing pitch, and different types of pitching. Okay, so but in a nutshell, pitching is showcasing or presenting your idea or innovation or whatever it is with an intention to convince somebody about the value of your idea and getting what you want in return. That's as simple as that. And I'm sure all of the children, all the students here have done pitching, even though they may not really recognize it. Maybe you want something from your parents, and maybe a birthday gift or something. You would have made a pitch saying why you want it, and you would have made a case for it, and the parents may be convinced about it, and maybe they bought you something what you wanted, either a toy in your childhood or something else, a bicycle or a two-wheeler or whatever it is. So all of them are in one way or the other. It's some sort of a pitch, you can say. Okay, it's an informal pitch, but here when we present it to let's say a jury member, you're doing it with more formally. That's all it is. Okay.
Okay, sir. So you said there are different types of pitches, which is elevator pitch, sales pitch, investor pitch, competition or a jury pitch, and a crowdfunding pitch. Okay. So
Yeah.
my next question is, and you also said that, how you pitch depends on whom you're trying to convince. Okay.
Right.
So the next question is, how do you, what does it involve? How do you decide what should be said?
Okay, first of all, you need to decide who is your audience. I mean, for whom are you pitching, right? As I said earlier, if you're competing in an innovation competition like the ATL marathon, then your pitch is targeted at the jury members or the people who are going to evaluate, because thousands of children from across the country are submitting their entries in the innovation competition. And there is a panel of jury members who will actually sit together. They will look at all the submissions by students, and they have to pick maybe the top 100 or top 200 or whatever, or the top 10 maybe in some cases. So how do they decide? I mean, they need to look at your pitch, and they need to, they cannot come and talk to you in person, or you cannot go to them in person and talk to them. So you would have to make the pitch in some way. We will come to that as well. How are you going to actually share your pitch with them? But the first and foremost thing is you need to be clear of what you want to pitch. What is your innovation project or prototype, or whatever it is. So be clear about that, and then be clear about your target audience. Who are you pitching this for? If it is a jury member, great, do a pitch to a jury member. If you are pitching your business idea to an investor because you want some funding or grants or investment, then you need to do it differently. Or if you have a product or a service that you want to sell it to a customer, then you actually do a sales pitch that is for a customer, and you do it differently. And let's say you want to raise funding from the public for, like nowadays we call it as crowdfunding, and you want to raise funds from the public, you do it in another way. So all of them are different types of pitches. And we also have something called as an elevator pitch that Tilottama just mentioned. Elevator pitch is something that you pitch when you don't have much time, and you have to talk to somebody and tell them about your idea or the value of your idea and convince them to give you more time. Then you do something called as an elevator pitch. Why we call it as an elevator pitch is because it takes probably 30-40 seconds or maybe maximum 1 minute for you to travel in an elevator before you get off from the elevator. And let's say you and let's say an investor get into the elevator by chance. Maybe you don't even realize it before, and you have about 40 seconds before that investor goes away. He gets off in one of the floors. And in that time, you shake hands with them and say, I'm so and so, and then I have this idea. Would you be interested? And you make a very brief connect, and he should say, okay, great, come back to me. This is my business card or visiting card, and let's connect later. At least he should show that basic interest. So if you can do that in that 30 or 40 seconds, that is called an elevator pitch. I'm sure all of you have done this. This is nothing new. There may be a lot of terms, right? Acronyms and terms, and that may be quite confusing, but all of you have done it one way or the other. When you don't have time, when you have to speak to your principal and convince them about something, maybe you have done an elevator pitch already. Now, coming back to this question, what does pitching involve? So as I said, you be clear about what you want to pitch. Then you also be clear about whom are you pitching it for? And then you also have to be clear about what does your audience want to hear. If it is a jury member, you should be clear of what they want to hear, right? For example, if it is a customer, you might want to talk about the product features and functions and what problems it solves and what is the price and things like that. But if it is for an investor, you may have to talk about your business idea, how you want to take it forward, what is the business model, how you plan to make money, and things like that. Of course, you don't talk to the customer, right? How you make money, customer is not interested. Customer is only interested in knowing the price of the product. So you never talk how you make money to a customer. Similarly, you may or may not necessarily talk about the pricing to an investor early on, maybe later on. And similarly, for a jury member, he is more interested in knowing about what is the problem that you're trying to solve, what is the solution that you have come up with, how does it differ from some of the other solutions in the market, who are your team members, and things like that. And what is the next step, what do you want, and things like that. That's what a jury member would like to know. And finally, you need to present your pitch itself. When you present your pitch, you need to talk about the core idea, the big picture, right? If you go about in a very roundabout fashion, the jury member will get confused. So whatever you pitch, you need to clearly state that this is exactly what I'm pitch. I mean, this is my solution, and this is the problem, and this is the solution, and these are the benefits, and this is the value, and this is what it takes to bring it into the market. That's what you say in as few sentences as possible or as few slides as possible. And more importantly, in a pitching, people will ask you questions. So you need to be able to answer those questions. That means you should have thought about the questions that they are going to ask you and be prepared for it. If you're not prepared, people will ask you some question, random question, and you will be lost. You don't know how to answer it, right? Ultimately, you should also know after you pitch, what is that you want from them, right? That is why I said pitching is with an intention. You want to convince them or persuade them because you want something in return, either money or prize or certificate or funding, whatever it is you're looking for, you need to ask them. If you don't even ask them, people might just come, listen, and just go away. They may not give you what you want. And also you should be prepared to take the next steps. So all of this is involved in pitching. Yeah. So
Okay, so
that answers.
yes, sir. So now if I wanted to pitch something to somebody, could you give me like a, like a checklist of things that one should definitely do before one goes about pitching?
Okay, one is basically you need to have the content of your pitch. That means either your talking points, or you should create a slide deck or a video, whatever it is. Or if you want to just talk about it, at least you should have your talking points. But nowadays, unless the idea is very simple, it may be difficult to present everything by just talking. So in some cases, you need to have some slides, or you need to have some videos that makes it more impactful. So create the content with your talking points, with your video, with your slide decks, whatever it is. And then you need to practice your pitch also, because you need to get it right. You cannot be doing something that people don't understand, right? When you pitch, you should pitch with a clear intention. Otherwise, people will be lost. And you should pitch confidently, right? If you are doubtful yourself, if you are not sure about yourself or your idea, if you have not done enough homework, then you will definitely not be confident. So you need to be confident when you pitch it. And most importantly, people nowadays don't have much time. So they want they'll give you as little as time as possible. Maybe somebody has only 2 minutes, somebody has 5 minutes, somebody maybe has 10 minutes, but you need to make sure that how much time they have and make the best use of that time. So if you stretch and go too far and you keep rambling for too long, people will lose interest and they will just disconnect from you, or they just move on. So make sure that when you go about pitching, you stick to the time and have some time for the other person also to ask you questions, right? And be ready with those answers. If you don't have an answer, you can always say, I'll get back to you at least. But be prepared to answer some of the basic questions. And of course, when you pitch, you should always ask what you want at the end of the pitch. Okay, so that is what you should be very clear before you actually go and pitch. And when you do the pitch, you should follow these steps, this kind of checklist. Hope that helps.
Yes, sir. So this thing about practice your pitch. So what you were saying is, of course, keep the, how much time you have in mind, which is one reason to practice, to make sure that whatever you've put together actually fits into the time. And now, how would you practice that pitch? Like, I think I would stand in front of a mirror and try it a few times.
Yes.
Would you recommend something like that, or would you recommend trying it with some friends, or how would you?
Definitely. Of course, I would. First thing is, you can always stand in front of the mirror and practice it a few times, get it right, get the wording, sentences, everything right, because you have very less time. And you have to make that first impression on people. And the other thing is, you can practice in front of your people who are known to you. Okay, not the jury member or the customer or the investor, but somebody within your family, friends, relatives, who can give you some time. Just talk to them and make the pitch in front of them. Take their feedback, take their suggestions, and improve on it. And that is how you can get better at pitching. So pitching is an art; it doesn't come overnight. Okay, and one needs to practice. And the more you do it, the better you become. And the more confident you become, the more likely that your pitch will be accepted in the way you want it to be accepted, and you will also get what you want. Yeah. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes, sir. So, but a little more about, pitching. So, what are the characteristics of a good pitch?
Okay, that's very important to know what are the characteristics of a good pitch. One is always you should focus on your target audience. If you miss the target audience and if you make the wrong connection and you pitch the wrong way, people will immediately disconnect from you because it is not relevant to them. It should be of interest to them. When you're pitching to an investor, it's important that the investor is interested in, let's say, investing in your business or in your idea. If you're pitching to a jury member, they should be interested in your idea. If you're otherwise, it doesn't have any value. So what you pitch should be relevant to the person that you're speaking to or the set of people that you're talking to. So make sure that it is relevant. That is the first and foremost thing when you pitch. Okay, whatever idea you're saying, is the other person interested in the first place? If he's not interested, don't continue. Don't waste your time. Don't waste their time. And when you speak, you have to be clear and concise. Okay, so you should not go about using very complex words, go about speaking in a roundabout fashion, and confuse them also. Don't confuse them. Be very clear. What is your purpose? You need to talk about what is the need or the problem that you're trying to solve in the case of an innovation or a idea pitch. Then you say, this is my solution. And that is how you should go about. If you just talk about the solution without identifying the need for it, people will again not understand. So make sure that you are clearly go in the right flow, the right sequence, and be crisp. And don't try to give all the information at one shot. People will get confused. So my suggestion is just give enough information that will pick their interest. And if they want more, they will all automatically come back and ask you for more details. They will ask you at the end of your pitch, they will come back and ask you, or they'll raise your hand and then say, okay, I want to ask a question. And then you stop, then you pause, and then you take the question, answer, and then proceed. Okay, so make sure that it is clear and concise. And again, one more thing I want to again highlight is you should always paint the big picture first. Don't go into the nitty-gritties. I've seen many times when I also go as a jury member to some of the innovation competitions and all that, I see students getting into the specifics. Sir, I have used this sensor. I've used this actuator. I've used this microcontroller. But I tell them, forget all that. First, tell me what is your project about? What does the solution do? Or what problem does it solve? First, tell me about that. Give me the big picture. Then we will look into your Arduino or Raspberry Pi or this electronics, that electronics, whether you have used this device, that device. All those things are secondary. When you're giving the pitch, when you have very little time, people don't want to get drowned in all this nitty-gritty details. So make sure that you don't jump into the details. Okay, so you always paint the big picture first, and if you have time, you can always talk about the other details. Okay, even when you prepare a slide deck, you should always paint the big picture first in the first few slides. The details can come later or sometimes in the backup slides also. More importantly, a pitch should tell a good story, a convincing story. So if you are a good storyteller, then it becomes very easy for people to connect with you. Rather than saying some problem which people don't understand, personalize the problem. Talk about the situation or the scenario faced by some person somewhere, some farmer or some office worker or somebody on the street or some village woman or things like that. Give a name to that person and then say, this is the scenario they went through and this is what happened. This is the kind of problem they faced. And this is how my solution is helping them today or it's going to help them today. So build up a story. A story is much more easy to understand, remember, and people can easily connect with. So without the story, sometimes it becomes very hard, especially if it is a complex problem or a complex solution, it is a lot more difficult for people to understand. So you need to always try to dumb it down and simplify things to a level that the other person can actually understand. Okay, so that is very important. And whenever you state some information, make sure that you have facts and figures. You have some relevant sources. You can't just say that, okay, there are some 100,000 paraplegics in our country. So you need to quote the source. Okay. So if you don't quote the source, that means if you have not done your research and if you're just randomly throwing up some number, or you don't even throw up some number and you say that there are many, what does that many mean? Right? It doesn't give you a real sense of how big is the problem or how significant your solution is. So you should always talk in terms of numbers, quantify everything, quantify wherever you can, you need to put some numbers to it. And the numbers, you should have some sources. Maybe some government agency has already done some research and they have published some reports. So quote those sources so that it lends credibility to whatever you're pitching. Okay, if somebody asks, how did you arrive at this number that there are 100,000 paraplegics or whatever, then you should say, according to this report published by the government of India or somebody else or United Nations, this is the number. Then people will say, okay, understand now. Otherwise, people will say, okay, you must be fudging or faking some numbers. So it's very easy to lose credibility if you don't have the sources quoted. So it's very important to make sure that you ultimately have to sound convincing. If you don't sound convincing, people feel that you are fooling around. They will definitely not support your idea. They will not select your idea for the competition nor give you funding. Nothing will happen. So honesty and being straightforward is the best thing. Okay, always be straightforward and be honest about it. Okay, so I hope these are some of the characteristics, not necessarily this is everything, but at least some of the main key things to keep in mind. Okay, so I hope Tilottama have answered your question.
Yes, sir. And I
About
think what you said about paint the big picture first also kind of helps with the sounding convincing and being
yeah,
honest and straightforward. Because if you take time to get to the point, people
yeah,
wonder why you're taking time to get to the point.
right,
So, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing that you were saying about don't get into details, because the other problem when you get into details is, for example, if you say I used an Arduino to do this, then suppose one of the jury members knows that they've tried it, it doesn't work, then they
Yeah,
will immediately go into no, that doesn't work. Then your
yes,
whole thing
yes.
is gone.
Exactly. And one of the things that people normally do is when you pitch your idea or innovation, there are people who are supportive of you, but there are also people who are maybe they want to critique or they maybe want to, with purpose or without purposely or with unknowingly, they might actually try to shoot down your idea. Okay, so it's like they might throw some tough questions at you, which will try to say that why your idea doesn't work. Okay. So you may have built a simple prototype, but if you're not thought about all the aspects, they will try to say, no, it doesn't work in this environment. It doesn't work in there. It doesn't work here and there. Whatever. They'll tell you 10 reasons why it will not work. That's what people will do to your idea. And you will get disheartened and discouraged, and you may stop actually innovating. So don't let that happen. Of course, you will find all sorts of people. Okay. But you should be clear. If the more homework you do and go to a pitch and present it well to the people, the more confident you will be. Of course, you cannot always be prepared 100% to every kind of person and every kind of question that they may throw at you. But you can always say, okay, thank you. This is a good suggestion or idea, feedback. I had not thought about it. I'll come back to you with a refined version. You can always thank them for it and come back. Okay. Or you can always say, I'll take some time and get back to you. I don't have the information. So you need to also know how to gracefully handle difficult situations. That is also part of characteristics of a good pitch, I would say, handling difficult situations. Yeah.
So, why should one do this? I mean, why is it important to learn how to pitch?
Okay. See, why do we pitch? Anybody has any ideas? You can put it in the chat window. If you have some ideas, you can always share it with us. First and foremost, I would say you want something, right? I mean, why are you doing the pitch? Why are you even showcasing your idea? Can you not keep that idea to yourself? Maybe build the product yourself or the prototype yourself. Will you be happy with that? What is the general tendency of human beings? We want, when we have something good, something interesting that we think other people also would be helpful for them. We want to always share it with others, right? That is our primary motive behind our psychology is also like that. So we want to share it with others. So sharing is at the heart and core of why we pitch. But it also, in the process of sharing, you also want something in return. You probably just don't want to share and give your ideas away for somebody to take it, steal it, and use it and make money out of it or whatever, right? You are sharing the idea because you also want some support, some encouragement, maybe some money, some funding, some prize, whatever you're looking at. You want to get that. So that is another reason that why you want to pitch. But some of the side benefits are you learn how to communicate, when you pitch is all about communication, right? It's talking to people, either through verbally or through a video or through a slide deck. You're communicating with other people. So basically, your communication skills improve when you do more and more pitches. So it's important that you learn how to communicate better, and you also try to see what the other person is expecting from you, and then you modify your pitch accordingly. And you make it more and more convincing for people. And you learn the art of convincing, you learn the art of persuasion, sometimes you learn the art of negotiation, because people will not just accept what you say always. Sometimes there'll be some negotiation. That means they'll say, okay, you're asking for 1 lakh rupees, but I can give only 50,000 rupees for your idea. Okay, you must have all seen that Shark Tank, how the negotiation happens on TV, right? So so the people with the business ideas, they go to Shark Tank and then they pitch, right? And the jury members are sitting there, the sharks are sitting there, and then they are throwing lots of questions. And finally, they'll say, okay, this is what I can give at this equity. And then people will, the people can either accept it or reject it. It's up to them. So you learn many of these soft skills and 21st century skills in the process. Okay, and it also ultimately it helps you refine your idea also, right? And you get what you want at the end of the day. That's the most important thing. You pitch because you want something in return. You're not doing charity always. Of course, you may do charity here and there, but give it away for free. But you also want something in return. So if you want something in return, if you want somebody else to respond to you in a positive way, you have to do a pitch, and a good pitch. Only then people will accept. Otherwise, it's very tough out in the world. People will just not buy into the idea per se. Because today, ideas are plenty. There are many ideas. Everybody has ideas. But unless your idea is refined, you have gone through the details, you have built some prototype, and you have something to show, and it really convinces them that you are really the right person to take this forward, they will not invest in your idea. They will not support your idea. They will not give you a price. So it takes a lot of hard work. Okay, so I wouldn't say the moment you get an idea, you should go and do a pitch. Never do that. You should always think about it, work on it. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, years also before your idea can actually be taken to people. If you go too early, people can take away your ideas, or they may just shoot down your ideas. So make sure that you find the right balance. It's an art. There is some science and there's a lot of art to this. Okay. Yeah. I hope I have answered the question.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so like you said, ideas are in plenty, but ideas that are well thought out are not that easily available.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
what
okay.
differentiates
Yes.
somebody who has just a raw idea and somebody who's an entrepreneur, right? An entrepreneur is somebody who has really worked on that idea, built the product, built the business model, business case for it, and he or she is ready to launch in the market. So there's one end is everybody has ideas, and the other end are few entrepreneurs who are taking their ideas to the market, selling it, making money. So you need to figure out where you stand right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to come to the important part of today's discussion, and I hope everybody is ready to take notes. So you've been a mentor for, with a lot of experience, and you've been, as you said, you've been on the jury for many of these competitions. So what do jury members, look for in a pitch submission?
Okay, this is a wonderful question, a very important question, because many a times I see that students don't think about this question. Because when you are taking your whatever science projects or tinkering projects or innovation projects and submitting it to an innovation competition, the first question you should be asking is this: what does the jury member or the people who are going to judge, the judges, want from me? What do they want to look at my entry? There are thousands of entries submitted by thousands of students across the country. How do I make my submission stand out from the crowd? Or at least what are the key things that the jury member is looking from my idea or from my innovation? So that is first and foremost, you should ask this question yourself. And then you should try and ask your mentors and other people, your teachers, and whoever else can help you. You could even go and ask ChatGPT. It will also give you some answers. But I would say if you are pitching for an innovation competition or an idea competition, the first problem you should talk about is what is the problem that you're trying to solve? That is what the jury members want to know. They want to know what is that you're trying to solve? What is the problem or the need or the desire of people that you're trying to address through your innovation or through your idea? And they also want to know how much you know about this problem. Are you very shallow, superficial? You have just Googled for it and found something, or somebody told you and you're coming out with some rough idea, or you just watched some YouTube video and then you come with some idea? Or have you done some solid research, some homework to really understand in depth what the problem is? That is one thing that the jury members will look for. So it should be very apparent in your pitch. If you sound shallow, 2 or 3 questions down the line, they will figure out you don't have any substance. You're a very shallow person. You have not done anything. They know that you have picked up this idea from ChatGPT or Google. That's the end of your idea. It will not get selected. So that's the first thing, problem and how much deeply you have understood the problem. And then the second is the solution. What is the solution that you are suggesting or proposing to solve the problem or the need or the desire or the wishes of people who are impacted by the need or whatever problem? And how novel is the idea? Novel means how unique it is. Is there something newness in it, or are you reinventing the wheel? Are you also proposing the same solution that is already there in the market or somebody else has already done? Okay, or at least even if you are what you're proposing is something similar to what others have done, at least do you have a differentiation? How is your idea different from what is already there in the market or others have done? I see many students doing this little tinkering project in their ATLs about water level indicator. Okay, and they submit to this innovation competition. It has this Arduino board and it has this water level sensor and it has some buzzer, and the same idea is submitted year after year after year after year. It's a good tinkering project, no doubt, but does it stand a great chance of winning in an innovation competition? Probably not, because thousands and thousands of students has done that over the years, and it has lost its novelty. And it's also there. These kind of water level indicators that you can put it in a water tank in your home is already there in the market. So what is new in this? Nothing new in this. Maybe the first time this idea came up, somebody came up with this idea and it was not being used, then it was novel. But over a period of time, the idea loses its novelty. It becomes standard. Everybody is familiar with it. Everybody is using it. So the chances of your idea getting selected in an innovation competition, especially a national level innovation competition for these kind of ideas, could be far and few, because people know there's hardly any novelty in it. So make sure that your solution has good amount of novelty. And most importantly, what is that, by using your solution, what is the value that this user is going to get, the customer or somebody? If you're saying that, okay, my solution is for a farmer, what will the farmer get out of my solution? How does it save them some time? Does it save them some money? Does it improve their productivity so that they can do their farming job faster? Or does it give them greater peace of mind? Does it give them some safety? What is that value that they are getting? So you need to be very clear about that. If you don't tell the value, indicate the value when in your pitch, people will not buy into your idea, because ultimately, why would I buy some product or solution or service? Because I get some value out of it. Why do I buy a mobile phone? Because I can make phone calls, I can communicate with people, I can probably play some games in it, whatever my need is. If it can solve that need and it adds value to me, then only I'll buy the product, isn't it? All of us will buy products only because it adds value to us, and it should provide benefits in the process. If there's no benefit, if there is no value, why would anybody buy into our idea? Isn't it? All of you agree or not? Give me a thumbs up in the chat window if you all agree with that. Okay, so make sure that you clearly indicate the value and benefits of your solution to the jury members. Otherwise, they will say, okay, the idea looks good, but is it really useful? Okay, maybe if you make one small umbrella, which is which is so small that I can hold it on my head and it doesn't protect me fully. That umbrella is maybe a nice, innovative umbrella, but it doesn't really solve the problem because when it starts raining, I'll still get wet, isn't it? So there are, if you go to Google and search for useless innovations, you will get one of these umbrella innovations also. And some of you who I joined this winter camp, I shared the first challenge in which I had shown some 8 products. All of them were useless products, right? Because it was not useful, it was not adding value. It had one defect or the other in those products. So if you build a product which may be very novel, very nice, nicely designed, but it doesn't add value to people, it's total useless. I mean, nobody is going to buy it. So make sure that you indicate the value and the differentiation, because the jury members also want to know how is it different from others. Okay. So even if you have brought some new feature, maybe an umbrella, you have created a new type of umbrella and then it has a button, or maybe it's as a voice activated. You just say open umbrella and it just opens. I'm just saying, I mean, it may or may not be really value adding, but if you have some differentiation, you should clearly call it out. How is it different from other umbrellas? Because nowadays, most of the umbrellas look same. I don't know whether anybody has really come up with really innovative umbrellas. The umbrellas in the last 100, 200 years, I don't know, it may be the same more or less. Maybe it has a plastic handle or a wooden handle, and there is a button, push button to open it. Beyond that, what is the innovation that is happening in umbrella designs? I really don't know. Okay, so if you are really coming out with a new type of umbrella, you should really have something interesting. Okay, so it's like that. You need to have some differentiation. Without differentiation, people will think that okay, it's just one other product. Today we have many smartphones. How do you differentiate one smartphone from the other, one car from the other in the market? So you need to say for this customers, this type of customers, this is the value I'm getting, and this is the differentiation. For this price point, at this price point, this is what you get. At different price point, this is what you get. So if you can really think of how to make your idea useful to people, then only it becomes innovation. Otherwise, your idea will be just raw and half-baked, half-cooked, and it will not really be an innovation. Most students, I see, they submit raw ideas. It's not really well thought out of. If for it to become an innovation, it should really have practical applicability. People should be able to use it. They should be able to buy it. And the person as you are innovating, you should also, it should be viable for you, right? All of these, you heard it in the previous session. One of the speakers talked about all this ideas, inventions, and innovations. What are the difference? So you need to know the difference between these things. And ultimately, the jury members also want to know what have you implemented? Are you just talking in thin air about all these ideas and innovations and things like that? Or have you really built something? Do you have a prototype? Is it a dummy model or is it a working prototype? And if you have a working prototype, it does something, then it stands a greater chance of getting selected than probably a dummy model. You could dummy model in the sense it could be just a cardboard model, or it could be a 3D model, or it could be just an animation video, or it's not really there, but you're just simulating it and showing as if it's there. Okay, but if it is a working prototype, it really does something useful and it really shows what it does. So make sure that what it does actually is relevant to the problem statement that you have chosen. If problem statement says something and then your umbrella is doing something else, if the problem statement is protect me from the rain, and if the umbrella is so small that it doesn't protect me from the rain, that prototype of umbrella is totally useless, right?
Yeah,
So
or you
make
could
sure
sort of maybe pitch it for a different problem statement.
different problem statement. Yes, maybe for sun or whatever.
Or we could talk to the next speaker, Anuradha ma'am, and see if it can be used as some kind of antenna, maybe boost the Wi-Fi
Yes,
signal.
yes, antenna, exactly. Yeah, and the jury member also would like to see how you can take your idea forward, how it can be scaled up, how it can be made useful to many more people in the world, or at least in your community. And ultimately, they would want to see, are you interested in taking the next steps, or you're just dropping this idea right here? So do you have some future plans? What is your future roadmap? They want to see all of these details. So only then you stand a greater chance of getting selected. Okay, so I hope I've answered the question.
Yes, sir. So I think we're sort of 15 minutes away from the thing. So I would, before we kind of
Go
open it up
fast.
for questions, yeah,
Ah.
just a few quick things. Could you give us like a checklist, like if I want to submit a winning pitch, what are all the things that, I should do? And everyone please note down, huh? Okay, yes, sir.
Yes. So this is the most important thing. If you really want to submit an innovation entry to an innovation competition and stand a greater chance of winning in the competition, first and foremost thing you need to do is make sure that you have good guidance and support. How do you get that? Either from your teachers or from your mentors or somebody who is knowledgeable in that field. Okay, if you're working on uh, um, some solution for a farmer, then you better know somebody who has some knowledge of agriculture, right? If you're otherwise, if you just go to Google or ChatGPT and search for something, you may get some half-baked, half-cooked information, and you try to go and come up with build an innovation based on that knowledge. It may not be what the farmer needs, and there are no one type of farmer. There are many types of farmers. Okay, if you go to different parts of the country, you'll find different types of farmers. Farmers who have small land holdings, farmers who have big land holdings, farmers who are just using a bullock to plow their land, somebody who's using tractors and machines. Okay, and the type of crops they grow, all of that is different. The climate and the environment, all of that is very different. So no two farmers will face the same kind of problems. So the problems could be very different. So you need to find somebody who can help you gain greater knowledge. And a mentor can also help you. Some of us are mentors. We can also help you, but we may not have expertise in all the fields. So you may actually have to go and find more than one mentor to help you, guide you in the process. And the most important thing is most students I see, they start directly jumping into the prototype. Never do that. You think you have an idea, you directly jump into the prototype. No, that's not the way to do it. You need to follow the design thinking approach. Remember the session 1 where the Ms. Jyoti talked about the design thinking process. So if you don't remember, you should go to session 1 and watch that video again. So design thinking process gives you a step-by-step approach to solve a problem and come up with an innovation. When you do that, you have good amount of research to understand the problem, you empathize with the needs of the users, and then you ideate, you look at multiple solution alternatives, then you build a prototype of the most viable or feasible solution, then you test that solution, make sure that the solution that you have built adequately addresses the needs or problems of the users, then you take it forward. But in the process of doing this, you also need to iterate a few times. If you don't iterate, the first time you build some prototype may not necessarily be the best prototype that you have got. You have to refine it and refine it and refine it and get it to a stage where it really is a good solution to a good problem. Otherwise, it may be a bad solution to a good problem or a bad solution to a bad problem also. Okay. And most importantly, even after all of these, you still have to find some differentiation. How is my solution different from others? You may have to introduce some new feature that is really what the customer is looking for or the user is looking for. So to do all of these, you need to acquire skills. You need to have skills in the problem domain that we are introducing you through this winter camp. You also need to have exposure to design thinking skills, problem solving tools, technologies, right? If you don't have it, you will probably be trying to come up with an innovation which probably other people have already done, or you're probably doing it much more ineffectively than what is already there. So if you had to innovate, you better know what is there. For example, nowadays artificial intelligence used is in many fields, and maybe those solutions are becoming better and better, and they have a much better differentiation over existing solutions. So if you need to know artificial intelligence, make sure that you understand it and try to bring that into your solution. Otherwise, what you build may not be what the customer wants, because customers' expectations also have gone up these days. Okay, so that's one thing. And then make sure that yours have some clear roadmap towards how your solution can be scaled up. It can be made useful to many people. Because that is what jury members also look for. Then it stands a greater chance. They'll see whether the solution that you have built is useful for only yourself or only a few people, or it can be used by many people. If your idea has the potential to impact millions of people, definitely the jury members will select your idea. So the bigger the impact your idea can create, the more chance that you will get selected. So to be a winning pitch, you need to pay attention to all these details. Okay, so I think I've answered this question as well.
Yes, sir. So to quickly summarize, find a mentor, and basically, may not be just one mentor, or the mentor may be busy. So you find multiple mentors if required. One for one purpose, another for another. Problem solving process, follow that. Research to get insights. Skills, ideate, prototype, test the prototype, iterate if the prototype doesn't work, which almost always happens. Highlight what is the difference between your solution and all the other solutions, and scale up. You need to figure out how to do, so that, because the jury members will be asking you. You don't necessarily have to do it yourself. And show future plans of how this can become big. Okay, fine, sir. So one or two more questions very quickly. What shouldn't one do? What should one avoid while pitching?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it's important to know what to do, but at the same time, you should also know what to do. Most of the times I see students jump into solving this problem or coming out with a solution at the last minute, when the innovation competition is a deadline, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks to go, then they start working. It never works this way. Innovation and problem solving are not like something that it can be rushed. It takes weeks, it takes months, it takes years. So unless you are ready for the long haul, you will not become a good problem solver, because problem solving requires a lot of observation and understanding and empathizing and a lot of research. You can't do it in overnight. You can't just go to Google and pick up some problem and you say, I'm going to build some prototype. No, that's not the right way of problem solving, not the right way of innovating. So that's what I see with many students. That should not happen. So you should take time, sufficient time, right? It will at least take you 6 to 8 weeks minimum, I would say. You should be ready to spend on that. I mean, I'm not saying all 24 hours or the six to 8 weeks, but you need time to think, right? So that is why you need those 6 to 8 weeks at least minimum to build something worthwhile, interesting. And the other thing that you should not do is, if you're submitting an idea for an idea competition, it's great. But if you're submitting just a raw idea to an innovation competition without thinking through how it can be used, how it can be of value to people, what is the differentiation, then it's no use, because a raw idea will not sell in the market. And one of the dangers is you're giving away your idea too soon, too fast to other people who may be really smart, and they take your idea and work on it further, and they take it, they make money out of it or whatever. So I would always say, don't submit your ideas. Work on your ideas for a couple of weeks, a month, and then get it to great shape. When you have really thought about how to make it useful to people, when it reaches the level of innovation, then you submit to an innovation competition. Okay. And then when you are building your solution, you identified the problem well, but the first solution idea that comes to your mind is not necessarily the best solution. So you should always look for alternatives. Okay, this is maybe one way of solving it, but there may be other ways of solving it. Are there simpler ways? Are there complex ways? At least you should try to identify 6 to 8 different ways of solving the same problem. And when you identify all of them, then you can figure out which is better, which is not so better, which is more effective, which is less effective, which is more expensive, which is more affordable. On all these factors, you need to take a decision of which product that you want to, which solution alternative you should pursue. And make sure that any solution that you build is novel and it has innovation in it. Otherwise, it's just copy. You become a copycat. Okay, and should have a broad appeal. It should be your solution should have value to many people, so it can be implemented widely. And other important thing is you should implement whatever prototype you build should actually reflect, or at least it should address the problem statement adequately. Many times I see children building a prototype which has real or no connection to the original problem statement. The problem statement is very grandiose, it says so many things, but when I actually build the prototype, it is so piddly, it doesn't really adequately address the problem statement at all. Then what have you really built? It's of little value to anybody, right? So work on it further. Don't be in a hurry to get to the competition and submit it. Don't do this just for the sake of competition, just for the sake of certificates or prizes. They are not the real goals. The real goal is you should become an innovator and you should bring out your creativity. Your creative best talent should come out. Your problem solving skill should improve. You should become an innovator. And ultimately, in the long run, you can sell your innovation, you can become an entrepreneur and make money. That is always there. But don't be in a hurry, don't rush. And just because somebody is asking you to submit, don't submit it. So do a thorough job and be meticulous, methodical, and then only submit it. If not this time, you can always submit it for the next competition or the next year. Okay, so these are some of the pitfalls I would say you can avoid.
Yes, sir. So one of the things you're saying about adequate time is that, for example, if from now to the ATL marathon submission date, suppose you have about 20 straight days, and it's going to take you 4 hours a day of work to build a prototype. That doesn't mean that you do whatever for 10 days, and then the last 10 days you think that if you do 8 hours of work, you'll get there. You don't,
Yeah.
because a lot of the thing is about not just the time you're spending on it, but the rest of the time, when you're brushing your teeth, when you're eating food, you're thinking about it, and that thinking is important. You need to give yourself time to think.
Right.
Okay, so I wanted to actually ask you stuff about the ATL marathon, but I think before that, because I'm not sure we will have enough time, I think I'd like to ask you a few more questions about the pitching, because that's also relevant both for the marathon and otherwise.
Sure.
What should be presented in a pitch deck if it's an innovation competition?
Okay, so a pitch deck is nothing but a set of slides that you prepare, because when you're pitching for a competition, you are not getting an opportunity to meet the jury members in person. Because in some competitions, you may actually have the person in front of you, you can orally present the pitch. But when thousands of students are presenting from across the country, the best form is to make either a video or a slide deck or both of them. And then you submit it, and then it goes, and some jury members look at it. They don't have connect with you. You don't have any connect with them. So they look at it offline, and then they have to take a call. So when this is the scenario, it's important that you can give the most important details as part of your pitch deck or slides. First and foremost, you talk about what is your project name. You have to have the first slide, the title slide. You have to have a catchy name for your project, which catches the attention of the jury members. Then you talk about the details of your team members also. Who are your team members? How many members are there? What are their roles and responsibilities? How did you work together? Maybe you can mention 1 or 2 things. And then, of course, you start by saying, this is the problem statement that we are looking at. This is the problem that we are trying to solve. And maybe highlight some few numbers and facts based on your research. And you can also, at the footer of the page, you can also say, this is the reference. This is the source from which we have got this information. Or you can give a link to some website where they can always find more information. So you need to make all these things, make sure that you capture it. And you can also write it down. Okay, so you need to, whatever facts and figures you're giving, you need to substantiate it. That's very important in a pitch document or a deck. And then you propose your solution. What is your solution? And for a jury member, they may also want to look at what alternatives have you considered. Okay. And if they want to know that, you can very briefly share what are some of the alternative solutions that you have considered and how the solution that you are proposing is better than some of those alternatives. So that the jury members knows that you have really thought through all of these before you arrived at this final solution. And then you can also say, how does your solution actually work? What are the technologies that you have used? Because in most innovation competitions, jury members also want to know what technologies have you used, how have you built. They want to know the technical details of it as well. So you need to show that as well. And finally, you need to talk about your novelty or the differentiation. Most importantly, you need to talk about the benefits of your solution and highlight how your prototype works. What are the features or functionality that you have implemented in your prototype? And if you have actually tried that prototype somewhere, then you should give some information about that. For example, if you have built some wheelchair and if somebody has used it and they have given you some feedback, you should incorporate that feedback as well, because then it will really help people make a decision of, okay, this is something really solid that these students have done. And then you can also talk about the next steps and future plans. And maybe you can even include an ask. If the competition says, okay, you can ask for something in terms of funding or something, then you can mention the ask as well. Okay, so these are some of the basic information that should go into a pitch document. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you
So,
go to our innovation portal, that is already mentioned in innovation portal as well.
yeah, so this was document, but pretty often they also ask for a video. I think Marathon also asks you for a video. So could you
Yes.
very quickly tell us what are the things that should be there in a video?
Yeah, so the video, the purpose of a video is to demo your prototype. Okay. So focus on your prototype. If it is a physical prototype, show a 360-degree view of how the prototype looks like, okay, or how it works like. You need to do a demo, and the focus should be on the prototype, not on you, because you are not so important. The prototype is important. Okay, so show the features and functionality and say how the prototype is actually solving the problem. Okay, these are the most important things for that you need to showcase as part of a video. But I also see many students making mistakes in actually making the video itself. One is I would encourage students to shoot their videos in landscape mode. Don't shoot it in the portrait mode. It will be very narrow, and when somebody is watching it on the computer or somewhere, it may come very narrow and it doesn't have enough space to show things. So shoot the video in a landscape mode, and make sure that you avoid any background clutter. If there's a lot of things in the background that people cannot pay attention, it becomes a challenge. And background noise, make sure that you don't have background noise. And your voice, if you're speaking in the video, it should be loud and clear. And make sure that you rehearse your speech. Otherwise, you should not fumble for words when you're speaking into the video. Hold the camera steady. Okay. And when you have to show a close up, you need to zoom in, zoom out. You need to do all that. If you hold it very far off and people can't really make out what is in your prototype, it becomes a challenge. So you should pan and zoom as and when required. Okay, and use a good video editing tool. Don't shoot the entire video in one go. Take different video clips and then join them together using a video editing tool and stitch a good video. Okay, but make sure that you limit the video to about 2 to 3 minutes. Don't make it like 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10-minute video. The jury members will not have time to watch such a long video, because they have to evaluate hundreds of submissions from students like you. So it should be really short and crisp. Okay, and get some early feedback. If you're shooting a video, shoot some early videos of your prototype, get some feedback from people so that you can improve on things. Okay, and make sure that you schedule sufficient time to work on these things, because you cannot do this video on the last day, last moment, just before you submit. So all these things you need to keep in mind. All of these things go into submitting a winning entry to any innovation competition. Okay, so that's what I would say. And ATL Marathon is one of the ongoing innovation competitions from Atal Innovation Mission that's currently ongoing. It started on 1st November. It's going to conclude on 26th of January. So if any of you are interested, you can go and submit your entry. And if you go to aim.gov.in, you will find all the, that's the website name, http://aim.gov.in, gov.in. You go there and you'll find all the information about ATL Marathon, and you still have time to submit your innovation entry. So I would say good luck and best wishes to all the students who are participating in the marathon.
So we have overshot by about 4 minutes, but I saw, and we don't have time for questions, but I saw that we have a lot of questions about the ATL Marathon. So I was wondering if we can take another maybe 3 minutes and talk about it a little more, like, how do you pitch for the ATL Marathon specifically?
Okay, ATL Marathon is not so different from some of the other innovation competitions. And many of the things that I talked about in the session are tailored for the ATL Marathon competition itself. ATL Marathon also has about 2 months, 2 or more than 2 months, started on November, almost 3 months of time, in which they have different phases where you need to identify the problem statement, then you need to ideate, you need to come up with a solution and the prototype. What they're looking at is a prototype, not a finished product. And you need to submit the prototype, and you need to create a document. The document can be in the form of a Word document or a pitch deck or whatever you can choose. And it should basically have all the things that I talked about earlier. And you should also submit a video pitch as well. So all of these are important, and make sure that the submission is done on or before 26th. And don't submit towards the end, because when thousands of students start submitting at the end, the server can go down. Sometimes it has happened in the past. So submit it at least 3 or 4 days before itself. And if something does go wrong, you still have about 2-3 days to resubmit it. And it takes a few months before the results are actually announced. But those students who actually do well, this get selected in the top 100 or 200, they get to participate in the student entrepreneurship program and student internship program. And those students get to work with some of the partner organizations of Atal Innovation Mission, like Dell Technologies or maybe some other organizations. And when they go for internship, they are provided additional mentoring and guidance and support to take their innovations forward closer to commercialization. And some may even actually get some grants or funding to work on their innovations. So there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of doors and opportunities can open up for students who get into this. So it's important that you submit a winning entry. Don't be one of many, but try to aim for the top 100 or 200 slots. Okay. So I hope I've covered the points you're looking for.
Yes. So for the marathon, do you need support from the school in order to?
Yes. Oh, okay. I forgot to mention that. So if you go to the ATL Marathon website, students cannot register on the ATL Marathon website on their own. The schools have to first register. The teachers, any of the teacher in your school can register. At least one teacher has to register. And once the teacher register on the portal, he or she will get access to the website where they can add the names of students who are participating in the ATL Marathon. And then once the names are added, the students will be able to upload their submission. Okay. So students cannot just go and register on their own and expect to submit. So make sure that you talk to your teachers, your principal, whoever it is, get them to register and form a team. Most of this ATL Marathon works in either individually or as a team. So your team size can be either 2 members or 3 members. So you cannot have more than 3 members in a team. So either 2 members or 3 members, and you need to work together as a team. And some of the things that we talked about in the previous session, teamwork, all of that becomes very important. So work together as a team, submit a document, submit a video, and you're done. And then you can wait for the results.
Okay, so I hope this inspires a whole bunch of people to have a go at the marathon. You still have 3 clear weeks plus a little extra time, so go for it. Yeah, it's gonna be good fun, at least trying.
And since we have run out of time, if students have questions, they can shoot me those questions in the WhatsApp group. I'll answer them after this session is over.
Yes, I think that's what we'll do. So Dhanya, shall we wind up? I think I'm not even going to give you a chance to talk since we're really overshot. But thank you so much, Kiran Kumar sir, for taking the time. I know we kind of, you've been very busy and we, asked you to join us today. I also thank the audience
for overshooting the time.
Oh, no, not at all. I think we had a very informative session. I also thank the audience for attending the webinar. I could see, that everyone was listening really well, and I could see many people noting down things. So that's great. Our next webinar is at 5:30, which is exploring challenges and opportunities in the space sector. We actually have 2 people from ISRO, from ISRO, who have come. They're like at the director level, and you're going to have a lot of fun with them. And in that session, I promise we will let you turn on your video and ask them questions, right? So make sure you're there. Listen to some amazing people talk about space. All right. See you all at 5:30. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tilotama. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Meet you all at